Have you ever wondered what really takes most people's lives after 60? It's not a question we bring up around the dinner table. No one wants to talk about death. It feels heavy, uncomfortable, and maybe even a little frightening. But here's the truth. Avoiding the conversation doesn't make the danger go away. In fact, it often makes things worse because what we don't see, we can't prepare for. As someone who has spent countless hours listening to doctors, caregivers, and older adults just like you, I've learned that the real power comes from clarity, not denial. And that's why this video exists. We're not here to scare you. We're here to equip you with knowledge, insight, and practical tools that can make a very real difference in how you age, and more importantly, how well you live. Many seniors I've spoken with over the years shared a similar story. They brushed off the fatigue, the cough, the memory slip, telling themselves, "I'm just getting older." That's normal, right? But sometimes what we assume is normal aging is actually a warning sign. And by the time they realize it, the window to act is much smaller. So today we're going to take an honest, compassionate look at the 5 leading causes of death in older adults. But this isn't just a list of scary words. We'll explore how each condition works, why it's often overlooked, what the early signs are, and what you can do to protect yourself starting today. And throughout, I'll share real stories, people who could be your neighbor, your spouse, or even you, because health isn't just about numbers, it's about lives. If you're over 60 or love someone who is, this video could be one of the most valuable 15 minutes you spend this week, because it's not just about adding years to your life, it's about adding life to your years. So grab a cup of tea, sit somewhere quiet, and let's walk through this together. And if you haven't yet subscribed, now might be the perfect time. Hit that button and turn on the bell so you won't miss more videos like this, practical kind and created just for you. Coming up first, the quiet enemy that has claimed more lives than any other among older adults: heart disease. And what you can do starting today to outsmart it. If there's one health issue that quietly takes more senior lives than any other, it's heart disease. But here's the thing, it rarely starts with a bang. Most of the time, heart disease doesn't make headlines in your body. There's no dramatic collapse, no sirens right away. Instead, it whispers. It hides behind everyday feelings like fatigue, shortness of breath, or that just getting older, kind of tired, that many people in their 60s or 70s dismiss too easily. A cardiologist once told me something that stuck with me. By the time many of my senior patients walk into my office, they've already lived with heart disease for years. They just didn't know it. That's the heartbreak of this condition. Awareness often comes too late. You see, your heart is an incredible organ. It beats over 100,000 times a day, delivering oxygen and life to every cell in your body. But it's also deeply affected by the way we live. Years of high blood pressure, elevated cholesterol, poor diet, and lack of movement slowly chip away at its strength. Add stress, smoking, and even emotional isolation, and the wear becomes more than just physical, it becomes life-threatening. Let's take Martha, 72, who lives just outside of Minneapolis. She used to be a teacher, active and full of energy. But in recent years, she found herself getting winded just from walking to the mailbox. She told herself it was normal aging. She skipped her doctor's appointment 2 years in a row because, in her words, "I didn't want to be told something scary." When she finally went in, her doctor found severe blockages in 2 coronary arteries. She was shocked but grateful it hadn't become a heart attack. Stories like Martha's are far too common. We're taught to look out for chest pain, but heart disease rarely announces itself that clearly in older adults. Instead, it may show up as constant fatigue even after resting, mild but consistent shortness of breath, swelling in the legs or ankles, unexplained weight gain, discomfort in the neck, jaw, or upper back, and the worst mistake, writing it off as just getting old. The good news is that heart disease is also one of the most preventable causes of death. That's right, preventable. Even small lifestyle changes can offer big returns. Here are some simple yet powerful steps. Eat for your heart. Focus on fresh vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and lean proteins. Cut back on salt and processed foods. Move daily. Even a 20-minute walk can improve circulation and strengthen your heart muscle. Manage stress. Meditation, deep breathing, or just calling a friend can lower stress hormones. Quit smoking. Even if you quit decades ago, it's worth reviewing your lung and heart health. Get regular checkups. Don't skip the blood pressure cuff or cholesterol test. These numbers matter. Think of these habits not as punishments, but as acts of self-respect, a way of saying to your heart, I'm here for you the way you've been here for me every second of my life. Because the truth is this, your heart may grow older, but it doesn't have to grow weaker, not if you care for it. You still have the power to support it with intention, movement, nourishment, and love. In the next section, we'll talk about cancer, specifically how late detection turns a treatable illness into a life-altering diagnosis, and what you can do to recognize the warning signs before it's too late. Let's move forward with clarity and courage. When you hear the word cancer, what comes to mind? For many people, it's fear, a sense of finality, maybe even hopelessness. But what if I told you that cancer in many cases isn't the sudden storm we imagine it to be, but a slow-moving shadow that gives us plenty of chances to notice it? If we're paying attention. Among older adults, cancer is the second leading cause of death. But here's what's rarely talked about. The biggest danger isn't always the cancer itself. It's when we find it too late. You see, many cancers grow quietly, especially the types most common in seniors like colon, lung, prostate, and breast cancer. These don't always start with obvious symptoms. And even when signs appear, they often look like normal aging or side effects of other conditions. That's why they're easy to ignore. An oncologist I once spoke with shared something powerful. By the time many of my older patients are diagnosed, the cancer is already advanced, not because they ignored it, but because the early signs were too subtle to raise alarm. Let's take Patricia, 69, a retired librarian from Oregon. She started feeling more tired than usual, noticed some weight loss and occasional bloating, but she assumed it was part of menopause or just stress. When her daughter convinced her to go for a checkup, it turned out to be stage 3 ovarian cancer. Her response: if I'd known those small changes mattered, I wouldn't have waited. And that's the heartbreaking part. We brush off small symptoms because we don't want to be seen as dramatic. We don't want to waste the doctor's time. We tell ourselves it's probably nothing. But what if it's not? Here are some early warning signs many seniors overlook. Unexplained fatigue, changes in bowel habits or blood in stool, a persistent cough or hoarseness, sudden weight loss or appetite changes, lumps or thickened areas, especially in the breast, underarm, or neck, changes in skin spots or moles. These signs don't always mean cancer, but they always deserve attention. Now let's be honest, screening isn't the most exciting thing to talk about. Colonoscopy, mammogram, CT scan. Not fun, not glamorous, and yes, sometimes uncomfortable. But here's the truth. Screenings save lives. They catch disease before it spreads when it's most treatable. And in many cases, they can remove or treat early signs before they ever become cancer. So what can you do starting today? Here are a few steps that can put you back in control. Keep up with recommended screenings. Talk to your doctor about what tests you need based on your age, family history, and risk factors. Eat a cancer-fighting diet. Think leafy greens, berries, beans, cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower, and whole grains. Stay active. Even moderate exercise has been shown to reduce cancer risk, especially for colon and breast cancers. Avoid tobacco and limit alcohol. These two are directly linked to several types of cancer. Listen to your body. Don't downplay changes just because they seem minor. You know you're normal. Trust that inner voice. And let's not forget, cancer isn't always a death sentence. Many people live long, meaningful lives after treatment, especially when it's caught early. But it takes courage to face the unknown. And it takes commitment to care for yourself, even when you feel fine. You are worth that effort. Because early action doesn't just save lives. It protects your independence, your peace of mind, and the future memories you still have yet to make. In the next section, we'll explore another condition that creeps in slowly, but affects something even more fundamental than your organs, your breath. Let's talk about respiratory diseases and how to catch them before every breath becomes a struggle. Take a moment and breathe in deeply. Feels simple, right? Effortless. Natural. But for millions of older adults, that simple breath becomes harder and harder to take. Not all at once, but gradually, quietly, until one day walking across the room feels like climbing a mountain. Chronic respiratory diseases like chronic bronchitis, emphysema, and especially COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, are the third leading cause of death among seniors. Yet they remain among the most misunderstood. Why? Because they don't come with a dramatic entrance. They creep in slowly, often mistaken for being out of shape, a little under the weather, or just getting older. It's this quiet progression that makes them so dangerous. A pulmonologist once told me, by the time most seniors come in for testing, they've already lost 30 to 50% of their lung function and didn't realize it. That's not a scare tactic. That's a wake-up call. Let's meet Ron, a 75-year-old retired steelworker from Pennsylvania. He hadn't smoked in over 15 years, but every morning he'd cough. Every afternoon he'd feel winded just from unloading groceries. He blamed it on age, on weight, on humidity, until his daughter insisted he see a doctor. What they found shocked him: severe COPD with diminished lung capacity. I thought quitting smoking was enough, Ron said, but no one told me the damage could keep growing even after I stopped. And he's right. Quitting is essential, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. Because for many older adults, lung damage comes not just from cigarettes, but from years of workplace exposure, air pollution, undiagnosed asthma, or recurrent infections left untreated. Here are some common early signs of chronic respiratory issues. A cough that lingers for weeks or months, wheezing or tightness in the chest, especially in the morning, getting winded from everyday tasks like dressing or mild walking, needing to sleep propped up to breathe comfortably, increased mucus production. These may seem small at first, but ignored they steal your stamina, your sleep, and your sense of ease. But there's hope, lots of it. Even with reduced lung function, there are proven ways to slow the damage, manage the symptoms, and restore quality of life. Here's what you can do starting today. Get a lung function test, especially if you have a history of smoking, asthma, or exposure to pollutants. Follow prescribed treatments. Inhalers, bronchodilators, and certain medications can significantly improve breathing. Practice breathing exercises. Diaphragmatic breathing and pursed lip breathing help increase oxygen exchange. Stay gently active. Walking even slowly stimulates lung function and improves circulation. Avoid triggers. Smoke, cold air, strong chemical smells, and pollen can all make breathing worse. Create a clean air home. Use air purifiers, avoid indoor smoking, and ventilate well. And most importantly, don't downplay shortness of breath. It's not just aging. It's your body asking for attention. Because breathing shouldn't be a daily battle. It should be your birthright. And with the right care, you can reclaim the comfort of easy breath, even in your later years. Coming up next, we'll take a look at a condition that strikes fast without warning and changes everything in a matter of minutes. Let's talk about stroke and how to spot the signs before it's too late. Take a moment and breathe in deeply. Feels simple, right? Effortless. Natural. But for millions of older adults, that simple breath becomes harder and harder to take. Not all at once, but gradually, quietly, until one day walking across the room feels like climbing a mountain. Chronic respiratory diseases like chronic bronchitis, emphysema, and especially COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, are the third leading cause of death among seniors. Yet they remain among the most misunderstood. Why? Because they don't come with a dramatic entrance. They creep in slowly, often mistaken for being out of shape, a little under the weather, or just getting older. It's this quiet progression that makes them so dangerous. A pulmonologist once told me, by the time most seniors come in for testing, they've already lost 30 to 50% of their lung function and didn't realize it. That's not a scare tactic. That's a wake-up call. Let's meet Ron, a 75-year-old retired steelworker from Pennsylvania. He hadn't smoked in over 15 years, but every morning he'd cough. Every afternoon he'd feel winded just from unloading groceries. He blamed it on age, on weight, on humidity, until his daughter insisted he see a doctor. What they found shocked him: severe COPD with diminished lung capacity. I thought quitting smoking was enough, Ron said, but no one told me the damage could keep growing even after I stopped. And he's right. Quitting is essential, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. Because for many older adults, lung damage comes not just from cigarettes, but from years of workplace exposure, air pollution, undiagnosed asthma, or recurrent infections left untreated. Here are some common early signs of chronic respiratory issues. A cough that lingers for weeks or months. Wheezing or tightness in the chest, especially in the morning. Getting winded from everyday tasks like dressing or mild walking. Needing to sleep propped up to breathe comfortably. Increased mucus production. These may seem small at first, but ignored they steal your stamina, your sleep, and your sense of ease. But there's hope, lots of it. Even with reduced lung function, there are proven ways to slow the damage, manage the symptoms, and restore quality of life. Here's what you can do starting today. Get a lung function test, especially if you have a history of smoking, asthma, or exposure to pollutants. Follow prescribed treatments. Inhalers, bronchodilators, and certain medications can significantly improve breathing. Practice breathing exercises. Diaphragmatic breathing and pursed lip breathing help increase oxygen exchange. Stay gently active. Walking even slowly stimulates lung function and improves circulation. Avoid triggers, smoke, cold air, strong chemical smells, and pollen can all make breathing worse. Create a clean air home. Use air purifiers, avoid indoor smoking, and ventilate well. And most importantly, don't downplay shortness of breath. It's not just aging. It's your body asking for attention. Because breathing shouldn't be a daily battle. It should be your birthright. And with the right care, you can reclaim the comfort of easy breath, even in your later years. Coming up next, we'll take a look at a condition that strikes fast without warning and changes everything in a matter of minutes. Let's talk about stroke and how to spot the signs before it's too late. It often happens in the most ordinary moment. You're pouring coffee, tying your shoes, or simply walking into the kitchen. Then suddenly your hand won't move. Your speech slurs. One side of your face droops. In the blink of an eye, everything changes. That's the terrifying nature of a stroke. Unlike other conditions that build slowly over time, stroke can strike without warning, and when it does, every second matters. But make no mistake, stroke rarely comes out of nowhere. In most cases, it's the final result of years of silent damage from high blood pressure, irregular heartbeat, clogged arteries, or unmanaged diabetes. A neurologist once told me something that has stayed with me for years. Strokes rarely give second chances. If you miss the first window, you may lose mobility, speech, or even your life. It's a harsh truth, but it's one we need to hear, because knowing the signs and acting fast can save your life. Let's look at Eugene, a 70-year-old retired firefighter from Texas. He was strong, independent, and still cooked breakfast for his wife every morning. One day, as he reached for the coffee pot, it slipped from his hand. He couldn't speak. His wife noticed the signs immediately and called 911. Doctors later confirmed it was a stroke caused by long-standing high blood pressure and undiagnosed atrial fibrillation, AFib. Recovery took months and left him using a walker. "If I'd listened sooner," he said quietly, "maybe I'd still be running." That's the tragedy and the opportunity. Because stroke is not just sudden, it's often preventable. But prevention starts with understanding the risk factors. High blood pressure, the one cause. Irregular heartbeat, especially. AFib, smoking and alcohol abuse. High cholesterol and clogged arteries. Diabetes and poor blood sugar control. Sedentary lifestyle and chronic stress. And most importantly, you need to know the fast warning signs of stroke. F. Face drooping. One side of the face looks uneven. A. Arm weakness. One arm drifts downward or feels numb. A. Speech difficulty, slurred or hard to understand speech. T. Time to call 911. Immediate medical help is essential. The brain is incredibly sensitive to oxygen loss. After just a few minutes without it, damage begins. After an hour, it may be irreversible. That's why delaying action isn't just risky, it's life-altering. So what can you do to reduce your stroke risk right now? Here's a practical checklist. Check your blood pressure regularly and keep it under control. If you have AFib, work closely with your doctor to manage it. Limit salt and processed foods. These spike blood pressure quickly. Move your body every day. Even light walking improves circulation. Keep your brain active. Read, do puzzles, stay socially engaged. Prioritize sleep. Poor sleep is linked to higher stroke risk. Quit smoking the sooner. The better take medications as prescribed, especially for heart and blood pressure. And perhaps the most important advice, don't wait to act. If something feels off, numbness, confusion, blurry vision, sudden dizziness, don't explain it away. Call for help. Let the experts decide. Because with stroke, it's better to be safe than sorry. Stroke can be devastating, but it doesn't have to be a sentence. With awareness, prevention, and quick response, many strokes can be avoided and lives can be protected. In our next section, we'll explore a different kind of health challenge, one that doesn't strike fast, but slowly erodes your identity, your memory, and your sense of self. Let's talk about Alzheimer's disease and how to protect your mind as you age. It often begins so quietly, so subtly, that you might not notice at first. You misplace your keys. You forget a name mid-sentence. You walk into a room and can't remember why. Most of us chalk it up to age. Senior moments, we call them. But for millions of older adults, these small lapses are the early signs of something much bigger, cognitive decline, and for many, the beginning of Alzheimer's disease. Unlike stroke or heart attacks that strike suddenly, Alzheimer's is a slow fade. It doesn't take your life overnight. It takes your memories, your relationships, and your sense of self, one forgotten face, one confused morning at a time. A geriatric specialist I spoke with once said, "By the time a diagnosis is made, Alzheimer's has already been reshaping the brain for years. It doesn't just affect the patient, it affects the entire family." That statement carries weight because this disease isn't just medical, it's deeply emotional. Let me tell you about Harold, an 82-year-old retired math teacher from Ohio. Every morning, he'd start his day with a crossword puzzle and coffee until one day he couldn't finish it. Then he forgot his grocery list. A week later, he placed his shoes in the refrigerator. But what broke his daughter's heart was when he looked at his grandson and asked, "What's your name again?" That was the moment they knew this wasn't just forgetfulness. It was Alzheimer's. And Harold's story is not unique. Today, Alzheimer's is one of the fastest growing causes of death in seniors and one of the most emotionally painful. Here are common early signs you should never ignore. Repeating the same question or story, difficulty managing money or following steps, trouble finding words or finishing thoughts, misplacing items in strange places, withdrawing from conversations or activities, mood changes, confusion, or increased anxiety. These symptoms may seem mild at first, but they tend to get worse over time. Now, the difficult truth, there is no known cure for Alzheimer's, but that doesn't mean we're powerless. In fact, research shows that lifestyle choices can delay the onset, slow the progression, and in some cases improve brain function even in the early stages. Here's what you can do to protect your brain. Stay mentally active. Read, learn a new hobby, play music, do puzzles. Keep moving. Regular physical activity boosts blood flow to the brain. Eat for brain health. The Mind diet, rich in leafy greens, berries, whole grains, fish, and nuts, has been shown to reduce Alzheimer's risk. Prioritize good sleep. Deep restorative sleep helps the brain clear waste proteins that are linked to memory loss. Stay socially engaged. Connection is fuel for the brain. Talk with friends, join groups, attend events, even virtual ones. Manage stress. Meditation, mindfulness, and even prayer can help protect cognitive function. And if you or a loved one start noticing signs, don't wait. Early diagnosis matters. It gives you time to prepare, to adjust, and to take control of what's still within your power. Because while Alzheimer's may take memories, it doesn't have to take your dignity. And with the right support, many people continue to live meaningful, connected lives for years after diagnosis. Most of all, remember this. Your brain is not just an organ, it's the home of your stories, your spirit, and your sense of purpose. And it deserves as much care as your heart, your lungs, or your bones. In our final section, we'll take a step back and reflect on everything we've explored. Because understanding these 5 threats to senior health is only the beginning. The real power lies in what you choose to do next. Let's wrap up this journey with clarity, hope, and a renewed commitment to living well. We've covered a lot in this video, 5 of the most common and often most silent causes of death among older adults: heart disease, cancer, chronic respiratory disease, stroke, and Alzheimer's. If that list felt heavy at times, I understand. These aren't easy topics. But here's the truth. I hope you're walking away with knowledge isn't fear, it's freedom, because now you're no longer in the dark. You're no longer guessing if fatigue is just old age or a signal from your heart. You won't brush off that lingering cough or ignore changes in memory or assume that shortness of breath is something you just have to accept. You'll know what to look for. And more importantly, you'll know what steps to take. Here's what I want you to remember. Your heart can grow older and still stay strong with movement, food, and rest. Your breath is not just air, it's a signal. Don't let it be taken for granted. Your brain holds your story. Protect it with love, learning, and connection. Your power doesn't come from avoiding illness. It comes from showing up every day for yourself, and you don't have to do it alone. Talk to your doctor. Tell your family. Ask questions. You deserve to be heard and to have the tools to live not just longer, but better. So let me ask you, Which of the 5 areas we talked about today speaks to you the most? Is there one small thing you can do this week, just one, to begin turning awareness into action? It could be as simple as calling to schedule that overdue checkup, or going for a 15-minute walk, or picking up a book to exercise your brain. Whatever it is, do it for the future version of you who still wants to laugh, love, and live with purpose. Now it's your turn. Leave a comment below and share. What's one change you plan to make after watching this video? Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. And if you found this video helpful, please consider liking, subscribing, and turning on notifications. That small action helps us create more life-changing content for people like you, who are choosing to age with clarity, confidence, and heart. From all of us here, thank you for watching, and thank you for choosing to take care of yourself. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, breathe deeply, love fiercely, and live intentionally.